Started. Welcome, everybody. Thank you so much for joining us again. We haven't seen Maxwell in several months, possibly a little over a year, but the company's made tremendous progress. As a reminder, Maxwell is a preclinical stage drug platform company. They've developed a new class of immuno-inspired small molecules that are combating drug-resistant bacteria, fungi, and viruses. They use AI to mimic and enhance the human innate immune system, and their technology is engineered to disrupt pathogens as opposed to targeting narrow biochemical pathways. The company has demonstrated efficacy in advanced animal models already, including non-human primates. They've secured more than $50 million in government-sponsored research, multiple U.S. military agreements, and formal regulatory engagement with the FDA. The company has an amazing team and advisory board, and I'm just thrilled to introduce you guys to CEO and founder Joshua Scotch McClure, who's the founder, chairman, and CEO of Maxwell. And Scotch, it's great to see you again, and take it away.
Thanks for having us again, Tien. Really appreciate it. So Maxwell Biosciences is something pretty unique. It is a combination of an artificial intelligence breakthrough as well as a deep tech breakthrough within bioengineering. The result of that is successful mimicry of the human innate immune system, which is obviously, if that's possible, it's a revolution in public health. So the goal for Maxwell Biosciences is a total game changer, industry replacement, where you would need only one medicine to cure any infection. And so that would be a combination product, one drug against all bacterial and fungal infections, and another drug to cure most viruses in a single medicine. You wouldn't need any diagnostics, so it would just cure anything infectious. The goal is cost of a drug at less than $1 per patient per day. We're working with governments all over the world to make that happen. That's with government subsidies. We're in direct talks with presidents and ministers of health in India, United Arab Emirates, in the United States, in Thailand, and many others. This quarter, we expect to close a $300 million grant from the government of India. We're working on something similar in the UAE and a couple of other countries as well. And then we've got some big things happening with the US military as well. So I'll tell you more about that. In total, we've had about 64 million in investment, government grants, and multiple US military agreements. We have an AI platform I'll tell you a little bit about, and we know it works. It's successful in non-human primate studies, and we'll go into some detail there as well. So I want to start with acknowledgments. We've had over 500 peer-reviewed publications on our drugs, what you're going to be hearing about today. We're in collaborations or have been in collaborations with Stanford, Baylor College of Medicine, Texas A&M, Indian Council of Medical Research, the NIH, many different branches of the NIH, many different divisions of the U.S. military, including DARPA, also the U.S. Department of Energy, and their molecular foundry at the Lawrence Berkeley Lab, and many others. There's about probably 100 others that are not on this list, governments and prestigious institutions. In short, what we have is consensus. We have scientific consensus. This works in animals and in the lab. So let's talk about the highest form of animal prior to humans. That is the non-human primate study. Now, especially in infectious disease, this is a highly accurate model of humans. And so this study showed safety and efficacy in both bacterial and fungal infections with a single molecule, what I was talking about before, a single medicine to cure any infection. So there is no antibiotic that can cure both a bacteria and a fungi. So this is not an antibiotic. It's a totally new type of medicine. This is why it's called a deep tech breakthrough. So in this study, there are two groups of non-human primates, rhesus macaque monkeys, 12 in one group and 12 in the other arm. This was jointly designed by our team, and we have the team here, so you can ask questions of them, and also jointly designed by the Indian Council of Medical Research, which is like the equivalent of their NIH. And then the Indian Council of Medical Research ran the study themselves. We just shipped the drugs to them. We went and visited, but they did all of the work themselves. So we measured the baseline microbiome in both arms. We infected with bacteria in one, which was multi-drug resistant MRSA bacteria, one of the worst strains in the world. And we looked at exactly what that nucleic acid looks like in analysis so that we could check to see if it was still there after the treatment. And then same thing with drug-resistant Candida albicans, also really, really nasty. This is at the top of the military's list now, and we infected with that. We then waited for it to form a very strong infection, and then we treated in both arms with MXB 22510, same drug. And what we showed was they were cured in 3 days. And by cured, what we mean is it was gone. Like it's completely gone. So what we were doing was actually measuring if those nucleic acids are still in the nasal cavity and they were completely gone. So no side effects, no toxicity, and we preserved the microbiome, which resulted in a new patent. We did not realize that it was going to do that. It actually enhanced the diversity of the microbiome as well. So no antibiotic does that. This is the official letter from the ICMR that how successful it was. You can read that in diligence. Also, in diligence, you can look through our cap table, and we've got a long list of pedigreed investors here, billionaires, super angels, VC firms, the government, and many others. We've gone through, I'd say, probably at least a year of diligence at this point from various different institutions. We currently have term sheets in place from major industrial chemical firms as well as large European pharmaceutical firms, which will probably be closed and signed on definitive agreements probably in Q1. We've got multiple U.S. military agreements. Not all of them, but some of them can result in over $1 billion in revenue. I'll highlight the ones that do not have revenue associated with them. These are all collaborative research and development agreements called CRADAs, where we send them the drugs and then they do the work. Sometimes we get to know exactly what it is they're testing against. Sometimes that's classified and we don't get to know about it, but they do send us whether or not it did work. And so far, we've got an incredible track record with them. We also have multiple Indian government contracts. We should be getting somewhere around 300 million from one of these here very soon. We have three large projects happening right now. We just finished the non-human primate studies, which were very successful. That led us into both Brucella camel livestock health project, as well as about a $300 million rare and neglected tropical diseases grant, which is pending, and we expect to sign that and then proceed forward with the work in Q1 of this year. Infectious disease obviously remains a pervasive health crisis. That's our focus right now. I'll tell you more about how we're going to be building value and business even beyond infectious disease here pretty soon. Pandemics are emerging faster than ever, and so this is a really big business area for us, especially since Johnson & Johnson is completely now out of the infectious disease space, and Pfizer is now out of the vaccine space. And so it's perfect for us to come in with broad spectrum antivirals, antiviral therapeutics. We don't have, political resistance or political risk anymore in that space. Why is that? It's because old tech failed to solve infections. And so pandemics are emerging faster and faster because viruses are morphing faster than we can come up with vaccines. Vaccines are essentially a broken model in the highly connected world that we have today. We cannot protect the style of civilization we have today with vaccines. We need better tools. Same thing with bacteria. We need better tools because bacteria are evolving resistance much faster than we can come out with new antibiotics because the business model for antibiotics is broken. Fungi is fungus and pathogenic fungus has never had any good drugs associated with it. These are the same compounds that are found in chemotherapy. And so, fungal infections in the brain or in the nervous system, obviously, you can't use chemotherapy in those sensitive areas. It'll destroy that tissue. So, how did all of this start? It started with an artificial intelligence breakthrough that I told you about a little bit before. It was machine learning specifically on human biology. We looked at the innate immune system, the peptides specifically in the human innate immune system, identified a molecule called LL37 and decided, what if we could copy it with AI? And essentially enhance the immune system and the immune strength of the innate immune system all throughout the body. And so let's talk a little bit more about the innate immune system peptide LL37. It's antifungal, antiviral, antibacterial, antibiofilm, and antiparasitic as well. It is anti-aging, anti-inflammatory, and highly responsible for damage repair throughout the body. So why use AI? If the LL37 is so amazing, why not just use natural LL37? Well, that is because LL37 is a peptide and it essentially rots just like meat without refrigeration. So peptides and proteins are unstable, just like leaving fish out of the refrigerator for too long. Your wife is going to make you throw that away. So so peptides are inherently unstable, just like fish or beef or something like that. And because of that, we can't use them very well as drugs unless they're refrigerated. So that makes them very expensive, not very scalable, and more kind of they're used in cosmetics and highly expensive like concierge medicine and that sort of thing. The reason they break down is because of the carbon bond right here. So bacterial enzymes and destroy peptides by breaking the carbon bond. The carbon bond is the problem. Can we replace the carbon bond? That's what our scientists initially thought 15 years ago to try this with the support of the Department of Energy Lawrence Berkeley lab. And what they said is, can we move these side chains over here to the nitrogen, right? So one more, okay, over to the nitrogen. Now, is this stable and does it work? And so they showed, oh, yeah, it is stable. Let's test to see if it works. It does work. Stability problem is solved. Now let's start testing it against various different things that the innate immune system would be effective against. We showed that it is. This is selective polyunsubstituted glycine antibiotics, our first patent that I purchased about 10 years ago. We have 6 patents now and about 57 patents pending globally. They're composition of matter patents with a 2030 to 2040 expiration window. These likely come, we're applying for this right now, FDA QDIP, which gives 12 years of exclusivity and FDA Fast Track, which rapidly pushes us through the regulatory process. The medical technology is really interesting, and it results in an AI platform combined with this deep tech that allows us to essentially mimic any peptide at all, including like GLP-1 agonists like Wegovy, anything like that. But just each one could be a giant blockbuster. So over 10,000 peptides in the human body can be mimicked. The first one that we're mimicking is stable LL37, which is this innate immune peptide. As you know, LL37 is effective against pretty much anything that could infect you. You only get a successful infection. You only get really sick when the infection overwhelms your innate immune system. Then your adaptive immune system kicks in, and that's when you feel sick. So the innate immune system does not make you feel sick. That's really interesting. So this explains why none of these compounds here have shown any side effects and why these compounds are so broadly effective against just about everything. So obviously MXB 24656 is the most broadly effective against viruses. And then for bacteria and fungi, MXB 22510 is our safest and also very broadly active. And so that one's the furthest ahead in the regulatory process and development process. It also preserves the gut microbiome, as we saw in the non-human primates. Unlike any other antibiotic, this got a lot of attention from the world's largest cosmetics company. and we've got an agreement with them, and we're in the testing phase of co-development now. We have an AI-driven drug discovery platform. I'm going to speed through this really quickly. You guys probably hear about AI all the time. Everybody's using it, but we have a biomimetic machine learning model that we came up with long, long time ago, like 8 years ago, and this produces essentially 90% accuracy. It tells us whether or not something is going to be toxic or not, and that saves us a ton of money and work. So, strategic focus on unmet needs allows us to focus where there is no competition. So that is chronic sinusitis. We're expecting about 9 billion per year off of that. Post-viral syndrome, like Epstein-Barr, infectious dementia, and long COVID. There are millions of people in the United States alone that suffer from that. There's no tools for that. And then brain fungal infections also completely unmet. No tools for that as well. And MXB 22510 is both safe and effective in neurons. So we also have an AI device that we're working on, we're developing. We're going after biodefense with these Army agreements, and we're headed towards replacing the entire antibiotic industry. We talk every year at the Aging Research and Drug Discovery Conference. Moonshot there in healthy aging. We're expecting to have some really interesting things, especially within cosmetics, coming out here pretty soon, probably next year. And so let's talk a little bit more about the AI platform. Why do we want an AI platform if we're just going to use a nasal spray to kill, for instance, like sinus infections? It's because the symptoms of head infections correlate 100% to the symptoms of dementia. And we saw that by looking at some of the data from some of our medical advisors. What they showed was the symptoms of sinus and head infections and dementia start with depression, then anxiety, loss of the sense of smell, cognitive impairment, and memory loss. And so these are exactly the same, totally comorbid when it comes to the two, right? So sinus and head infections result in these symptoms. That's what the clinical presentation is. That is the clinical presentation of dementia as well. So it's not just us talking about it. There's also lots of publications out there in high impact journals saying this is the case as well. So is it possible that this nasal spray that could be effective against chronic sinus infections may also be effective against a large subpopulation of the dementia sufferers? It's quite possible there. So that's very interesting. We have an AI-empowered smart nasal spray device. It collects data treating anxiety, depression, memory loss, and cognitive impairment. This is an AI graphic showing you kind of what it looks like. How it works is the patient activates the nasal spray. A friendly AI personality called Claire establishes a patient relationship. Claire AI conversation then collects data on depression and anxiety by simply asking, "How do you feel? How are you doing today?" And then FDA already approved games objectively measure memory and cognitive performance. That anonymized data gets aggregated and then sent into the clinic with AI-driven insights for the doctor and for us, showing measurable performance gains, feeling better, thinking better, and then we send that data off to the FDA. We call this the Invisible Dementia Trial. These are our data sources here. There's a training phase and a testing phase that all gets fed into a healing detection model and then reported back to the clinic here. We are moving quickly into shareholder value now. We've got an IPO coming up for a company for pure defense contract and federal contracts called Valkyrie Therapeutics that'll be spinning out in 2027. We are raising our Series A right now. We expect to close that in Q1 of 2026 in just a few weeks. And we have multiple out-licensing models that are currently underway right now. This one will also result in an IPA, most likely on the Saudi Stock Exchange in a company called Bruce. And the last phase of this commercialization is actually clinical commercialization out here in 2029 when we get done with our FDA trials. We have 7 military agreements. I'm going to go into detail on those. We've got an antiviral therapeutic development happening. That one is signed. We've got a threat agnostic prophylactic system. That is with both US AMRID and with the Defense Threat Reduction Agency, which is the infectious disease side of the CIA. So that is for kind of the clandestine pathogens like anthrax and others that are rapid killers. We have taken 3 million on this one here in revenue. These two could be multi-billion dollar when they get to that phase. This one is just an analytical one, doesn't result in any revenue, no possibility there. Both of those could result in revenue. Those are both signed. One's antidiarrheal and one is anti-dengue virus. This one could also result in revenue, not yet signed. And this one with the Institute of Surgical Research at the United States Army it studies the effects of our Claromers on plasma and plasma constituents to make sure that it doesn't mess with clotting or anything like that that they would use in surgery. So in India, we focused on neglected tropical diseases. The result there, good result with these grants could be massive commercialization under the sponsorship of the government in rural areas where they don't really have much money because we don't take payment in chickens. The government sponsors that, gives us grants and then also subsidizes the medicine. We're targeting neonatal sepsis for newborn babies, brain fungal infections, and antibiotic-resistant sinus infections. You notice these are the same as our commercial targets in the United States, both brain fungal infections and remember chronic sinusitis in the United States. And so we get a twofer here. The Indian government pays for the development of both the Indian side and the US side. Probably 70% of our US side will be paid for by India. So the size of the deal, about a $100 million grant and a $200 million soft loan, which is forgivable when we complete the program. We've already gotten the agreement for the free land and sponsored research and facilities and stuff. We're also working with them on and their National Institute of Animal Biotechnology on the Bruce spinout IPO. They're already shown that we are effective against Brucella. There is nothing out there for Brucella. Brucella invades the macrophage, and so antibiotics are not able to get inside the macrophage and kill that bacteria. And so it's an incurable livestock disease that causes billions and billions of dollars globally. It's of much interest in the United Arab Emirates and Saudi because they have $30 million racing camels there. And so we are going to be starting with this as like a premium product, a very high-end product, and then we'll release a lower-end product and scale that out across livestock, horses, chickens, and lots of other things. So testing in camels is happening very soon in India. So we have a contract with one of these companies in anti-aging. They are using it as a microbiome-friendly cosmetic antiseptic. It is the molecule that we're using with them is cruelty-free, never been through animal testing, kills all known pathogenic bacteria, and does not harm the microbiome. We have a contract with one of these companies as well for healthy antiseptics for industrial kitchens, for high-end like green kitchens, and for hospital cleaning and stuff like that. It's already gone through all of the diligence, all of the testing, all the chemical testing, and we're in late-stage negotiations now. This is our team. I want to highlight Dr. Rudnick, Dr. Burnside, and Dr. Tracy, who are on the call today. They are the former Senior Vice President leadership for Shire Pharmaceuticals. When they joined, Shire Pharmaceuticals was trading at below $1 per share, and it recently sold for $64 billion to Takeda. So they are the brains behind that, inventing Adderall, Claritin, and many others, taking it all the way through to commercialization. We've got a lot of safety and efficacy data. I'm going to fly through the mechanism of action. Most of you have seen that already, but it essentially makes it impossible for both viruses and bacteria to evolve against it. It's direct viral killing. So here you can see we completely destroy the virus. We don't rely on the immune system to do that. We've been published in high impact journals, especially for the bacterial mechanism of action through Stanford. and it's effective against Ebola as well, as you can see here. That's what got us the attention of the military. We've shown no resistance in highly resistant bacterial strains. So we don't think that there's any way that it can develop resistance. It's safe and effective against fungi. We've tested in live brains of animals, and we show no adverse effect there as well. Zero inflammation in animal models as well. And let's talk about valuation and use of funds. By 2038, and an independent investment bank as well as a private equity fairness evaluation all confirmed they think we're going to be worth somewhere around $300 billion by 2038. And they discounted that back based on risk to a present value of around $7 billion. And so this has already been through an institutional fairness evaluation due to one of our investors wanting to confirm what the independent investment bank said. So there's a lot of value there to be had. That is not our investment valuation, by the way. Our investment valuation gives you multiple tens of returns, even on our net present value today. This is what the future looks like, replacing the antibiotic industry, a leader in AI-empowered drug delivery devices. There's nobody working on that right now. We know because we're working with both of the companies that work in this device space. And there's a lot of revenue streams coming. This is just an infectious disease right here. We're already planning longevity and cosmetic product lines as well that are not shown here. Here's what we're currently offering, a convertible note at a $282 million valuation cap. Now, remember, I said our valuation is estimated to be already at around 7 billion, and so that gives you a lot of room to make a lot of money there. Obviously, there's plenty of room to still make huge returns. I'm one of the largest investors in almost all of the rounds of this company. This comes with a 20% discount as well as an 8% interest. The 20% discount is kind of moot here because the $282 million valuation cap is going to give you, hundreds of percent difference just even on the Series A. Series A numbers right now, we're negotiating $500 million valuation. Terms are mostly agreed. We have not signed the term sheet yet. We're expecting to sign the term sheet in first week of February, which is right around the corner. Our deep dive is on January 22nd, and we're looking forward to your questions.
Thank you so much, Scotch. We have Sarah Aubrey as well, who can assist with Q&A. But Sarah, did you want people to raise hand and ask, or do you want to run through the questions that you've already gotten? Oh, you're on mute.
They can chime in, but let me go ahead and go through the questions in the chat because a couple weren't addressed. So we have a question. Wouldn't this wipe out beneficial bacteria as well? That was at the beginning of the conversation when we were talking about the non-human primate study, I believe.
Yeah, I think I already answered that.
Yep.
We preserve the microbiome and actually enhance diversity. We submitted a new patent on that.
But the treatment was applied topically though, right? To the nasal cavity?
Yes, the treatment was applied to the nasal cavity. We've also tested in human colon with donated human microbiome in the human colon, and we preserved the microbiome there as well as the fatty acids and all of that. No disruption in the metabolism of the bacteria as well.
But if you were to give it intravenously, then
so I think the question was although it was applied to the nose, it is the microbiome in the nose that was measured. So it was a direct measurement, as opposed to the microbiome in the gut. I think you were confused.
Yeah, we measured the microbiome in the nose. So we took a baseline microbiome measurement of all 24 non-human primates, and then compared it to the final microbiome at the end, and that's where we showed the diversity change, and that's why we had the data to submit the patent. We showed the same thing basically in a human colon experiment as well.
So why does that happen because you've specifically
That's
chosen to go against MRSA?
I would recommend you sign a non-disclosure agreement and
Oh,
get into diligence with our scientists because that's like an hour-long conversation. It is very
oh,
fascinating how that works. But we're actually proving things about the human innate immune system that are currently being published in scientific journals. And so that's where we're collaborating with scientists around the world on publishing that. That's how we get the 500 published articles is we're really, it is deep tech. We're moving the science of humanity forward with this technology.
okay.
We have a comment about buffalo in the US getting a lot of Brucella infections and some questions about whether or not a non-topical infection would be addressed in non-human primates.
So we're not planning any systemic studies in non-human primates. The government of India did sponsor the last one, so they might want to do that. We are planning a systemic study in camels, in three dwarf camels, to do a systemic study of Brucella to show that we can kill it inside of the body of a large animal. We've already tested in macrophages that are infected with Brucella. We didn't know if we would be able to do it. So when we were first asked to do this by UAE, first of all, they said they don't have a facility to do it. So it was weird that they were asking. But then we found a facility in India. And then the Indians are the ones that told us that this is that the Brucella invades the immune system and infects the immune cells. And we didn't know if we'd be able to be effective because we didn't know if our compounds would be able to get inside of a macrophage and kill the bacteria inside of the macrophage. And then they showed in an in vitro study that that is actually what happens, is that our compounds go inside the macrophage. It preserves the life of the macrophage. It doesn't destroy the macrophage, but kills the bacteria inside of the macrophage. And so now we're moving on to mice studies and large animal studies. The mouse study is to determine what dose do we need. But we've already estimated the dose based on some other animal studies that we've done. And so the camel studies should be happening within this quarter. So, and then once the camel results are ready to go, we'll be partnering likely with the Crown Prince of Dubai. He's the one who owns the camel clinics in UAE and is the one who's asked us to do the camel study in India.
And I think we reached the end of the questions in the chat. If anybody has new questions and would like to chime in, you can unmute yourselves or raise your hand and we'll call on you.
And while you do that, let me launch the investor poll here for those of you who are interested in potentially investing in Maxwell. We have 4 categories here. Very interested. Let's set up a follow-up meeting. Interested, would like more information. Not interested, but you have some investors who might be interested or not interested at all. And we would love to get 100% participation. So, please share. And this is all confidential. We're only going to share this with the company. So with that, go ahead and feel free to raise your hand and ask any questions.
Hey, Jan, nice to see you. It's been a while. I know, Scott, you probably, and you kind of touched on it a little because you talked about the various different areas that Maxwell's Claromer compounds could be effective. But for investors, can you maybe speak a little bit to potential exit scenarios, spin-offs of, a variety of public companies, or where do you see that liquidity event or return potential?
Sure. So Maxwell Biosciences, you can think of it as sort of a portfolio investment. So we are spinning out companies and partnering with big pharmaceutical companies and industrial chemistry companies and such to spin out those companies, and then those companies then become an exit. So you kind of get your cake and eat it too, sort of thing, where the IPO, you'll own a piece of that IPO, and then you can get liquidity off of that IPO if you want to. Or you can just continue to hold into that IPO. This helps us a lot where you can probably notice our age. There's some white hair in our executive team. We have been through the executive meat grinder in many, big companies, small companies, startups, et cetera. We want to stay here in this company and continue to spin out world-changing technologies. You can think of us as like a Bell Labs or something like that, where we will just continue to spin out technologies, spin it into larger companies for distribution or IPO, and then we'll have a series of liquidity events. Some of them will be mandatory, where intellectual property gets purchased or a company gets purchased or something like that, and we all get an immediate windfall. What I prefer is IPOs and things like that, where we can spin out a separate company. We can stay, somewhat involved with the development of the technology, but also receive, either an annuity or sell shares as it goes along, without selling all of it. I think that even these IPOs are going to be growing companies, big companies, because it's very innovative. We're replacing multiple industries here, and so there's a lot of money to be made. It's too big for any single company to capture. And so this is why we're spinning out and we're creating a family of companies that are capturing this value. This is one of the reasons why, big money from India is not normal to a US technology company. It's because a third of the GDP of India comes from generic antibiotics, and this is going to replace generic antibiotics. It definitely will. I mean, all we have to do is show safety and efficacy in humans, and that's what's going to happen. I mean, everyone's going to see that, right? So because we showed safety and efficacy in non-human primates in a India study, they said they saw the writing on the wall, and they said, okay, we want to create products here. You need to partner with an India company, India-owned company, and then we'll send the money to that India-owned company, the grant to the India-owned company to develop it. So we complied literally with the regulations. We acquired an India-based company and then applied through that company for the grant, and they allowed that. So we should be getting approval here very soon.
Great. I have another question, unless anyone else wants to chime in, and it has to do with kind of the regulatory pathway. I don't know if Beth or Ed can chime in terms of like what advantages does Maxwell already have to kind of move things along further or faster? I know you talked about the QDIP. There's other aspects that either help with the regulatory process or help with protecting the company for longer.
Beth?
Sure. Yeah, the QDIP is quite an advantage. We have a document ready to submit. The QDIP will give us an extra 7 years of exclusivity. As you know, the patents expire in 2030, and so as soon as we file our NDA and get it on the market, this QDIP will allow us to have an additional 7 years of exclusivity beyond, when the product gets onto the market. There's also a number of different avenues for fast track review and accelerated review that we're investigating. As soon as we get our first in human studies done and get in conversations with the FDA, we can explore some fast track avenues. So that there's a lot of ways to do it. Thanks for that question, Mira.
Welcome.
So the usual exclusivity that you would get for this type of product from the FDA is 5 years. So that QDIP, qualified infectious disease product, gives you another 7. So together, that's 12. First in human trials, we hope will be end of this year, either that or beginning of next year.
And that's for the chronic sinus infection?
That's for chronic sinus infection, and then we also have some other products that are headed towards humans
Yeah,
in India.
that's what I was curious from a first in human. do you think it'll come through like a standard regulatory pathway, or do you think one of those military contracts could escalate something faster into human, depending on if there's like a more dire need?
Well, we're so far ahead on the chronic sinusitis thing that it'll probably be chronic sinusitis will be go into humans first for human safety studies. But commercialization will probably happen faster in the military because the animal rule doesn't require the various different phases of FDA human trials. Animal rule applies with the FDA when, for instance, like an exotic virus kills so quickly that there's no way to recruit a human population for a trial.
Mhm. Right. And do you think a country other than the US might be faster?
No, I think it's going to be the U.S.
Okay.
That'll be the fastest on commercialization because of the animal rule. There, we are moving very quickly with India. Thailand also reached out, so we briefed the Minister of Health in Thailand. Thailand is per capita the has the highest amount of tuberculosis, and most of their industry, most of their GDP is based on tourism, and so a World Health Organization just said that, you know, per capita they have the highest tuberculosis, and so that impacted their tourism. So they are looking for a tuberculosis solution, which there isn't one right now. Uh, so we've got something that has been shown to be effective in tuberculosis in animals.
There's a question, Scotch, in the chat about whether we should file for a CE mark.
Yes, so we're working with a European pharmaceutical company on that right now, and that will probably be our Series A. It'll be probably a strategic Series A, and we've already passed diligence. We've already had term sheets go back and forth on that. We haven't signed the term sheet yet. We're hoping to sign the term sheet next week and receive funding mid-February.
I know a lot of investors have kind of come on recently, either new or follow on, a lot of angel investors. Are you talking to any larger investors aside from kind of the sovereign wealth funds?
So it depends on what you mean by large. So the European pharmaceutical strategic investment is a licensing deal plus an investment. We're expecting over 50 million from that. We need a lot more than 50 million in order to do all of the different development pipelines that we're working on. And so we're also working with the Sovereign Wealth Fund in UAE, and we have been for 2 years now. And they've directed us to go through various different testing milestones, like the non-human primate study. That was their idea.
Mm-hmm.
And so we completed that, and now we just recently, and so now tomorrow I've got a plane ticket to head back to Abu Dhabi and talk with them there. They're talking about a $1 billion investment at about a $3 billion valuation.
But we still have room left in this round that's happening right now. So
Yeah, I think the valuation on this current node is like compared to the
282 million, very
yeah,
favorable.
yeah, compared to the upside potential, it's yeah, very attractive. Great, thank you.
any other questions? We do have
Thanks,
a deep
everybody.
dive tomorrow. If you look in the chat, we're going to just dive a little deeper. There's a QR code, there's a link there for you, and you should hear from me with some extra information.
See you there, Brian.
Much. I
Thanks,
think when
everybody.
we do the follow-ups, we could actually put the QR code or the link for tomorrow's call as well. And yeah, this has been
Okay.
terrific, Scotch and team. Great to see everybody, and congratulations on, all the amazing progress you've made over the last several months. And this is super exciting.
It is. It's exciting for us as well. Thank you, Tien. It's fun to come back here and see this group of folks too, because it's we've spent kind of years growing up with you all. I think the first time that we pitched Opus 8, it was like $24 million valuation or so. I can't remember what it was,
Yeah.
but it was much lower than where we're at today.
The investors who came in on that deal did very, very well. And,
Yeah, I mean, Kevin Price is on the call today.
Kevin, yeah.
He came in early, and then there's some others. One of your folks invested $1 million actually in the very early days, so he has a pretty big chunk of the company.
Absolutely. Yeah. And I see several other, couple other guys on the call who jumped in quickly. And I remember that was a very quick turn close too. And I was severely surprised at the reception of the company. But you guys have, I mean, since then it's a whole nother business now, it's
It
a
is.
family of businesses, as you've mentioned.
Mhm.
Well, a lot of the history with both Mira and I, we've seen this company since the beginning. Keiretsu Forum is my former employer, and that's how I met Scotch. So I got to see him come through. We did their due diligence report. We kept in touch over the years, and now I'm here. I saw lots and lots of companies come through, but this one was
You
one.
forgot to say you invested.
Well, that's
You
what I'm
invested, I
getting
think
to.
it was like was it
I
like
was
an
getting
$11
ready for
million,
the drum roll. So Scotch is
$6
giving me the
million
drum roll.
valuation? What was it? It was
I,
crazy when you
yeah, I think I was in the kiss. So yeah,
yeah, it was
it
tiny valuation.
I called Scotch. I'm like, hey, I would like to invest too. So that was a long time before I started working here, but boy, have things taken off since I
But
started.
8 years,
Very busy.
7 years, 8 years?
I met
That was a
you
long time
8
ago.
years ago.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then I probably invested 7 years ago-ish. Yeah. So I'm right there with you. Many of our staff has invested personal dollars prior to even coming here. So that says a lot about the company. I've seen a lot of entrepreneurs, and this one is not only a visionary, but he knows how to execute. So
Yeah.
you're
And
in
the
good hands.
and the team that Scotch has put together, I also discovered Maxwell through Keiretsu Forum and you know, was the first Canadian investor in the company. They grew out the team, added Ed and Beth and Don and a bunch of other folks. I think Tony's here as well. And have added follow-on investment. And now, as the chair of the deal screening committee at Keiretsu Forum, probably like many of you, I see a lot of deal flow, like hundreds of companies over a course of, a quarter, or probably 1,000 in a month or in a year, I should say. And when you see a company that's this massively impactful to humanity, but also has massive potential for huge impact and return for investors, it stands out. And I continue to screen companies, and I've never seen one that has ever come close to what Maxwell is up to. So it is a really exciting opportunity that all of you are here to discover it for yourselves, because not everybody gets to discover Maxwell. I found myself during COVID, right, on a Zoom call, and fortunate that it was on a Zoom call versus an in-person physical meeting that I would have probably not gotten to. So it's definitely an exciting opportunity, and it's only gotten better, stronger, and higher potential since I've known about it. Absolutely.
Watching all the research has been fascinating. I mean, it started as just HSV1, topical oral herpes, and has like exploded into a million other things as the research moves on. So that has been really, really cool to watch. And I know that was the moment when I said, yeah, I need to invest in this. When I saw the enveloped virus exploding on screen, I thought, okay, I'm in.
Yeah, and a huge shout out to Beth Burnside and the R&D team and the work that they've done with various departments in the military. I think that the validation from various Department of Defense organizations, Navy, Army, Walter Reed, so on and so forth, looking at wound healing, broad spectrum anti-infectives. There's so many different avenues. So I think their validation and the fact that they keep coming back saying, wow, what you guys have is really powerful. And then they're not only like waiting for us to reach out, like Maxwell to reach out, but now they're like, hey, we've got this idea. Can you help us? I think Beth, you spoke to, the last military research symposium, like they were hunting you guys down.
Yeah, they're asking us to submit, and that's when you know you've arrived with a relationship with the U.S. military, when they put together a meeting and say, "Hey, we need help with this. We need you to submit a proposal, and or can you send us your compounds? We think your compounds will really do something great." So we are involved right now with at least 7 to 10 departments in the military side in all different kinds of organizations. And they are very enthusiastic, and we have the full support of them.
Yeah, big difference from knocking on their door saying, "Hey, we think, we've got something we think you might be interested in." And now it's the opposite. Now it's like, "Hey, we've got projects that we need you to support." So yeah, it's nice to see that kind of come full circle. Great job.
Thank you, everyone. I'm
Thank you,
gonna put
everybody,
my
and we'll be back in touch with the information deck and the link to the recording so you can share it with other co-investors. But once again, I'd like to thank Josh Scotch McClure and his awesome team, and we will see you soon. We'll be in touch. Thank you.
Thanks so much,
Thank you all
everyone.
for your time.
Take care.